Welcome to Freeman on Real Estate, the podcast about the hard facts behind what's going on in real estate. Realtor Mike Freeman of Coldwell Banker, who holds an MBA in finance, draws from his financial background and deep network to bring the most value for anyone looking to buy, sell, rent, or invest.
And welcome back to Freeman on Real Estate. This is David Yaz, the Boston Podcast Network here in our Westwood studios. Pod617.com, by the way. Pardon the plug, Mike. But
okay.
Just wanted to welcome you back to the studio. I have the air conditioning at 11. It's still not completely freezing in here, but it's a little better than when you first came in here, right?
It is.
As we record this, it's about 93,000 degrees outside.
I was going to say 93, 94,000, somewhere in that range.
What's your, if you were, Father Nature or whatever, what would you set the temperature? What's your ultimate temperature? You're perfect. On a summer day.
On a summer day, if I can go to the beach?
Yeah, see, that's why it's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah.
If you can go to the beach,
85. If I'm just going to be like out and about, enjoying the day, probably more like 75.
Yeah, 75 to 78, I would say. Think of the years the Red Sox used to be good. Okay.
Yes, true.
Well, we are back with part two of our wonderful guest. She passed the audition, and she's here back in the studio. And Mike, I don't know if you want to reintroduce Mel or get right into it, but off you go.
Yeah, sure. So I'll remind everybody that we have Mel Cidado from Breakthrough Coaching. And Mel, thank you you did a fantastic job in the first episode. And so what we're going to do now is, last episode, we talked about your background and your story and how you got to where you are. And now I want to focus more on some specifics. And I know that a couple of your clients are real estate related. So maybe we could talk about some common things that you've done for those clients, and I'll let you take it from there.
Cool. That sounds good. You want me to dive right in?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
All right, cool. Yeah, so in my leadership coaching work, I work with leaders, just as a reminder from the last episode, I work with leaders that are stepping into bigger, more highly visible roles in their organizations in the community and help them move into those roles with confidence and clarity and a plan. And so, a lot of things that people come to me for are help in making decisions. But I have, in the real estate space, and I'd love you to talk a little bit about your experience with this too, but heard a lot from my clients in this space around just the pressure, the pressure to do more, to sell more, to act fast, to not lose a lead, to the inevitable cycles that are going to happen, the ups and downs. There's no real off switch.
No.
If you're not dealing with deals, you're out prospecting, or you're trying to, you're dealing with a lot of rejection or a lot of no callbacks.
Yeah.
Like there's, challenges sometimes with managing boundaries with your clients, with, the people that you work with. Being on 24/7 gets exhausting, and people burn out. Feel a lot of anxiety and feel their self-worth is, tied to their financial results.
Yes.
So I don't know, that's what I've sort of heard, but you got to tell me.
Yeah. Well, that's all true. And so, so does that mean that you're working more with real estate agents or people who are in management positions, or both?
They're more in leadership positions.
They're more in leadership.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, from, I'm not in that position, but as a realtor in this area, all the things you just described are things that I face every day. So we're in a position where it's 100% commission. So, one friend of mine used the phrase, you eat what you kill. Not that I propose murder, but anyway.
Of course not.
No. But, as a business term. So it's, you go to an open house and you get 15 people and you call all of the people, you try to establish a relationship with them if you can in that short period of time. Then you follow up with them if they don't already have an agent. Like you said, sometimes they don't just get back to you. Sometimes you leave them a voicemail and then maybe you follow up with a text. And there's a fine line between being good about follow-up and knowing that people aren't going to always respond the first time, and harassing people. So you really got to be careful of that, and that's something we're always thinking about.
Yeah.
So when you're working with, so I was just mentioning to you before the show that I met with our regional manager earlier, and we had a nice conversation about the business and how it's changed and where it's headed. And so is that the kind of person you're mostly working with? Managers, regional managers, things like that?
Yeah, like regional managers. I work with people that are in like C-suite positions at smaller companies or
Yeah.
own their own businesses, own their own either mortgage or real estate firms, things like that.
Okay.
And like in the corporate space, people who like run big teams.
Okay.
Usually, yeah.
So those people aren't necessarily responsible for sales themselves, but they manage people who are.
Yeah, and they're there coaching and supporting
Yes.
and helping give direction and solve problems with people every day.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the role is, whether you're a regional manager or an office manager. Like I rely very heavily on our office manager for many reasons. One, to get advice and guidance, but also because you don't want to mess up.
Yeah.
You know, the laws
yeah.
are changing constantly. I've you know, as Dave knows, I've done episodes about the recent lawsuits and the settlements. And so there's some new laws that are going into place this year in Massachusetts for rentals. So things are changing quickly, and I rely on my manager for that. And I think the vast majority of agents do. And if you don't, you're probably going to get yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get in trouble with a regulatory authority, with other agents in your town who are going to maybe report you to your manager because you did something you're not supposed to do. So to what extent have you coached people that are trying to keep their people out of trouble and to make sure that they're fine, they're avoiding whether it's a legal problem or just doing business the right way? Have you encountered that yet, or not really?
Not as much,
Okay.
no. But I do think you bring up a really good point about like the pressure just comes from every angle,
Yeah,
right?
it
Like
does.
it's in. I've actually heard from leaders in other industries that compliance is becoming more complicated too.
Yeah.
Like laws are changing quickly and evolving quickly, and AI is changing everything. So
It is.
it's changing the game big time. So there's a lot of that in the world now, and we need people that we can rely on to help us through
Yeah.
it. We can't do it alone. Right?
No, we can't. You're right. AI has changed a lot. One thing I use AI for now, and I used to, one of the most painful things, and perhaps the most painful thing that I used to do, was to write paragraphs describing houses. That opening paragraph that you see, that was painful. But now I use AI, and it's less painful. You just tell them a few things about the house, and they just give you something. But you know, you have to put it in your own voice, so it's still a little bit of work. But you know, but yeah, from a compliance perspective, I agree with you, and that's where some of these new laws come into place. And we had the recent lawsuits and settlements that really shook the industry, and we haven't seen. I mean, it had been 100 years since we saw changes related to real estate commissions. And now we're seeing them go into place actually starting on Friday, August 1st, on rentals. So if you want to hire an agent and you're a landlord, you're going to have to pay. And that's not currently the case. Right now, a landlord can pass along the brokerage fee to the tenant. Starting Friday, they won't be able to anymore. So I don't know if that's something this is brand new. I don't know if anybody's told you that yet.
Yeah, I heard that in the news actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the same thing, if you're a tenant and you want to hire an agent, you pay that agent. So it used to be that if you're a tenant, you had to pay a full month's brokerage fee on top of first, last, and security. So you usually had to pay 4 times whatever rent is, which is a lot of money. And now that won't be the case. It'll be at the most 3. And you can have an agent or not have an agent. And even when they were paying the brokerage fee, sometimes many tenants didn't have agents. So anyway, I know I'm getting a bit into the weeds now, but this is probably the kind of
important.
thing that you're going to start to see.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And how you navigate through all of that it's hard. It's complicated, more complicated than it was 15, 20 years ago.
It really is.
When I was starting my career, things are very different now.
Yeah.
And they seem to just be changing at an accelerated pace every day, like faster and faster every day.
Absolutely. So the people you're working with right now in real estate, I know there are only a couple so far, but I'm sure it's an area that you'd like to grow going forward. It probably doesn't matter to you whether it's a large real estate company, small. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're looking at you want to work with executives and do your executive coaching. So that doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty agnostic to energy or to industry. I have spent more time in financial services broadly in my career, so it's an area I'm more familiar with. Which, I would consider, real estate to kind of fall in as big financial decisions you're making, right?
Well, that's where my background is too.
Yeah.
Dave knows a little bit about the financial services industry, don't you, Dave?
I used to know a lot, and I've forgotten a lot. Yeah. No, I was a financial advisor for about 6 years.
Yeah.
And when I took the training course for this company, Bernstein, I was coming in obviously as a second career. I was 40 years old when I started. They recruited me for this job, and what I learned about financial advice was there are financial advisors that are great. There are those that are terrible, but you can be a good one if you have a good head on your shoulders, you remember things, and you have good common sense. You don't necessarily have to know everything.
Right.
And that might apply to what both of you guys do, in that you give good advice, you're common sense, you're level-headed, and you're organized, and you listen, right?
Yeah.
And that's, when we did the training, I was like, so that's it? So you want to mix of stocks and bonds, and then you want to figure out if you have enough money to make it to retirement, right? It's like, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, and then obviously you can go in the weeds, but yeah, and like you guys, I also felt like I was a therapist at times, because you get to talking to people about their lives and money, and it's important just to listen. And and this would go for both you guys. I think people you're asking them, so how's your real estate practice? Well, it's great, but I haven't spent as much time as I would like to. I got this thing with my sister, but I'll be fine. And it's like, well, wait a minute, what? If you don't mind me asking, you brought it up. What's going on with your sister? She's having a tough time. Her boyfriend left her, and she's got to. And then who knows? Maybe you can help, maybe you can't. But yeah. I don't know.
No, you're right, and that's one of the first things that struck me about real estate. Is I said to my friends who asked that I didn't know how big that aspect of the business would be, being a therapist and really talking to people, especially something like real estate. You're making a major probably the biggest purchase or sale you're going to have in your life, and
exactly.
The emotional part of it.
Yeah, huge life decision, and definitely intertwined with other things going on in their life. Think about it. It involves their finances, it involves their jobs, it involves their family.
Yeah.
Right?
So it involves all those aspects.
And just to add to that, like the value in being able to listen, having someone feel heard, and feeling validated and acknowledged for what they're going through in that moment goes so far. It just, as from human to human,
it really
makes
does.
such a big difference.
So that's actually a good segue. So when going back to real estate for a second, the first thing that we talked about, that my regional manager and I talked about a couple hours ago, is how the business has slowed. We know that we've seen price growth for a very long time now, but volume is way down. So when you talk to the people in real estate that you have right now, and as you start to get new clients, is that a recurring theme that you're hearing?
Yeah, like this is a tough moment.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that too. And I think the thing that I talk to them most about is how are you manage your mindset through this moment? Because there's, I think there's a lot of talk out there about being resilient and having grit and pushing through. And those are all wonderful things, like definitely are, and necessary in tough moments. But also, like, what kind of things are you saying to yourself in your own head?
Right.
Are you being your biggest cheerleader, or are you being your biggest critic?
Right.
Because you can't control the market.
Right. Different days you can be one than the other.
Exactly. Yeah. So mindset matters a lot as you're navigating these moments and taking care of yourself. They sound silly, but, going for that walk every morning, just taking a minute for you so that you can replenish and rejuvenate for whatever the next thing is you have, the next day, the next meeting, the next client. the next person you're working with. Just make sure that you're taking care of you and all of that.
Absolutely. And you just made me think of one thing so I've made sure that I devote my Friday mornings are yoga class.
Nice.
And then coffee with my friends from the yoga class. And that's every Friday morning. So if somebody wants to do, say an inspection or I do everything I can to avoid scheduling something on a Friday morning. If there's absolutely no other alternative. But, that's an example of where you pick some time and that's your time. You spend it the way you need to spend it. And at the same time, I have to make sure that I spend enough time on prospecting. And hopefully I'm successful in that. But so is that, it's great to hear that that's something that you're talking to people about as well. And I'm sure that they're then talking to their agents about.
I certainly hope so, but yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So I guess what we'll end the segment with is there anything else that you want to add that you're helping your real estate customers with, or really any customers? I know we focus more on real estate here, but is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about what you do, the services you offer, and what makes you unique?
Yeah, I think one of the things that makes me unique when I work with people is my 25 years of experience helping people with their careers and with their development and their growth. It's one thing to kind of have knowledge to share with others, but in being able to help steward people through big changes and big differences and help give them, a chance to talk, but also be heard. A chance to help them find their own answers. Because how much more empowering is it when you find a solution yourself versus somebody else just tells you to do something, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels better and it's more genuine because it's you. It's what you've come up with. And so I think that's a big part of it. I think the other thing that sort of differentiates me is the focus not just on I've talked a lot of examples here around self-leadership and taking care of yourself, but also work with people on how they lead teams, how they lead organizations, how they lead the bigger systems they're in, and all the different, peers and leaders that have an opinion about what you're doing that you've got to navigate in those relationships that you have to manage, as well as leading change. As we talked about, change is...
it's inevitable.
It's inevitable, and it's only speeding up. Yeah. So spending a lot of time with folks talking about what are their strategies for that, internally, how are you gonna? What's your mindset? How are you gonna think about it?
Right.
And then how are you gonna show up? And what are you actually gonna do? So help people really think through that from both internal and external perspectives, so that they're being true to themselves and enjoying life, because life is just way too short to not enjoy it, and not you spend too much time at work and with the people that you work with to not enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
that's great. That's great words to end with. And I think that, what you really highlighted for me in the last few minutes, but through the first two episodes, but especially in the last couple of minutes, what makes you different. And, I want to work with you.
Yeah, right. Let's work together.
Sounds good. So I'll pass it back to Dave.
All right. We still have time to learn more about Mike and Mel. It sounds like a sitcom. Mike and Mel, Tuesdays on
what we should work on.
CBS. We're going to do more about Mike. Let's do it.
More about Mike.
More about Mike.
More about Mike.
Terrific question here. I can tell you behind the scenes, Mel selected this question. So, first concert you ever went to. I remember mine. I'll save mine for the end. I don't want to. I'm not the star here, but Mike, you want to go first? Or you want Mel to go first on this one?
I guess I'll go first this time.
Yep.
Okay. So my first concert was Eric Clapton.
Wow.
And it was in Worcester, and it was with a group of friends from high school. I think we just graduated. And it was a great show. I don't remember if anybody opened or not, but that was my first concert.
So possibly April of 1990. Just graduated college or high school?
High school, so 85.
So 85.
Yeah.
Would you believe I've got the set list of that very concert right here?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. It was perhaps June 26th, 1985. And
sounds about right.
In Worcester, Mass. And looks like Eric opened up with Tulsa Time, which I don't know what that is, but okay. And he closed with Father Up the Road. He played Forever Man, of course. He played Layla, Cocaine. Yeah, Wonderful Tonight.
Let It Rain.
Yeah. It's a great thing about setlist.fm. Not a sponsor of the show yet, but Mel, how about you? Not favorite concert, first concert.
My first concert was Huey Lewis and the News.
Oh.
On August 27th of 1988
What?
in Detroit,
How do
Michigan.
you know? Come on.
So I know because it was my dad's birthday.
Oh.
And he did not like Huey Lewis and the News. But he took us anyway because it was me and my sister's favorite show.
Oh.
And we went with my aunt and uncle. And
What year did you say, Mel? Sorry.
1988.
Okay.
It was a Small World tour. We went with my aunt and uncle and 2 cousins. And we only had, with the 8 of us, there were only 6 seats that were covered. At the time, it was called Pine Knob.
Pine Knob Music Theater,
Yes.
Clarkston, Michigan.
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
Yeah.
And we had two uncovered seats, and it was pouring rain. And my
course.
dad and my uncle took the hit, and they went out and stood in the rain on my dad's birthday just so we could see our favorite band.
And he disliked the band.
And he disliked
he
the band.
really got the run to the deal. But you
He
know what?
did.
He got
Great
to
dad.
experience it with you.
Yes, exactly. And I will remember it forever because of that.
So there you go. It was worth it.
Yeah.
Wow. Now the set list for that night is not available on the website, so it doesn't. But I can confirm August 20. Did you say August 27th?
August 27th.
August 27th, 1988.
I love that you fact checked right there. That's awesome.
That's what we do here. I first saw Huey Lewis on the sports tour, and my favorite part was when, and this is his shtick, so he probably did it on your show too. He was doing Working for a Living, which is a great song. And they do kind of an extended version of it, and the band keeps playing, and he says, "Let me introduce you to the band." On lead guitar, Chris Hayes, whatever his name is. On drums,
that's right.
Billy Gibson. And then he does the whole, "My name's Huey Lewis, and you just heard the news." I love that. Mine, if you care, was Billy Joel, the 52nd Street Tour, September 30th, 1978. So I was 10.
Wow.
He opened up with The Stranger. He closed with Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. Some things don't change. He still does those 2 shows, those 2 songs in concert. I hope you guys have checked out the Billy Joel documentary on HBO Max. No?
I want to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a
Not
fan?
yet. Yes, but I haven't seen it yet.
Well, I'm glad you're a fan of Huey. That makes me happy because he's some people think of him as kind of dorky, but but the music is so much fun. Terrific job, both of you, on More About Mike. And Mel, why don't you remind people how they can get in touch with you? We'll put all the info in the show notes, but let people know how they can find out more about what you do.
Yeah, you can find out more on my website, getbreakthroughcoaching.com, all one word. Or you can email me at mel@getbreakthroughcoaching.com.
Very cool. And Mike, if you could remind listeners how they get in touch with you.
Sure. So first, I would like to thank Mel. You did a fantastic job in these 2 episodes, and I'm really glad I had you as a guest. I think that you gave people a lot to think about when it comes to executive coaching, and maybe something that they didn't consider before, but hopefully they will now. So the way to get in touch with me, 617-759-1513 is my cell. Mike.Freeman@nemoves.com is my email, and check out my website, MikeFreemanHomes.com.
Very cool. Thanks again to all you listeners. Please follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your pods. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Freeman on Real Estate.